Tonight on The Factor, shock and celebration continues after the presidential election. Donald J. Trump is the president-elect, while Vice President Kamala Harris lost the election in both the popular vote and electoral college. We're breaking down the hot topics in a special edition of The Factor Uncensored.
The Isaiah Factor Uncensored starts right now.
And thank you for joining us tonight for this very special edition of The Factor Uncensored. We're breaking down the outcome of the presidential election and taking a deeper dive into some of the hot topic issues.
And every citizen, I will fight for you, for your family, and your future. Every single day, I will be fighting for you, and with every breath in my body.
Now, some of the big news. President-elect Trump has made a lot of nominations. Senator Marco Rubio has been tapped to Secretary of State, Tulsi Gabbard as Director of National Intelligence, Matt Gaetz as Attorney General, Elon Musk in a new role of government efficiency, and Fox News, Pete Hegseth to serve as Defense Secretary. Let's get this started with Dr. Dietrich von Biedenfeld, Tommy Atkins, Jolanda Jones, Angela Box, Dr. Kimberly McTorey, and Charles Big Angry Adams. Let's start off just talking about the results from the election. Each of you get a minute to respond. So, Angela, let's begin with you.
Well, I'm very, very, very happy, as you can imagine. This is a very surprising outcome. I think we all were gaslit for a very long time to think that this is an incredibly divided country, and oh my gosh, it's going to be like 2020 again. Well, they realized they couldn't do in 2024 what they did in 2020 because we made it too big to rig by Trump's exhortation to tell us, you better get out there, you better do early voting, you better make it too big to rig, and they couldn't do it again. And so what I find amazing, and I hope we get to this, the Democrats are now starting to talk about, oh, where are those 15 million missing votes? I'm like, well, I'm glad you asked, and hopefully we're going to get to that.
All right, Dr. McTorey, let's hear from you, your thoughts on the election overall.
The election overall, I can say I was personally disappointed by the results. I think it was a clear message to the Democratic Party that our messaging has to be different. I think that the messaging just was not there. And the voters were saying one thing, and I think that perhaps the messaging that the Democrats were presenting was saying another. But I think this is a great opportunity to take a look, reassess, strategize, and get ready for the next races.
All right, Charles, what's your takeaway from this election?
Watching Donald Trump surround himself with loyalists, some of them extremely unqualified, but I get the paranoia, right? He's already a somewhat paranoid guy. But I get, you had the FISA court abuses. You had the special counsel that shouldn't have been appointed. So you have a man that has been demonized, I think unfairly prosecuted in New York, that is now the most powerful man in the world. I do think this will push the Democrats, and I was a Democrat most of my life, back to normalcy, right? I've never considered myself a Republican, but I will tell you, I've been voting split ticket lately because you have a Democratic Party that has abandoned its constituency. And the jargon has changed just in the last week, right? They are hopefully refocusing on the concerns of the working class and stop putting Americans last. And that's why Donald Trump won, because he might not put Americans first, at least not rich Americans, but at least he gave them some lip service and told them what they wanted to hear. And he ran a far better campaign, and that's why he kicked their teeth in.
All right. Jolanda, let's hear from you.
So obviously I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed in my party. I agree with Dr. McTorey that we didn't have the right messaging, but we had a bunch of infighting. We had the party controlled by people who literally don't know what it's like to be poor. They spoke, and they spoke very sort of condescendingly to working class people. I know what's best for you. Nobody wants that. And quite frankly, we couldn't pick a side. Like, we were pandering, like, for example, with Israeli, Palestinian. I mean, at least Trump picked a side. You might not like what side he picked, and we were too busy trying to pander to everybody, and we got nobody.
All right. Tommy, let's hear from you, your thoughts.
Well, the first thing is I'm very surprised that Democrats weren't able to cheat to the point that they cheated last time. There were 16 million votes missing. I'd like to know where they went to. But put that aside for a second, because I really thought they were going to cheat to win. The thing that really I think everybody's kind of missed here is that the academic liberals have been completely defeated. This is the first time Bill Clinton, a very practical president, Barack Obama, a very practical president. These guys, nobody told them what to do. Joe Biden gets in, and they were run by all the academic liberals in his cabinet. And academic liberalism is dead. No more communist trainees. You're out. You're gone. You're gone. Democrat Party has to rethink what they're about because, frankly, they've gone so far away from what they used to believe in. And Republicans, frankly, have done just the opposite. They've gone to the people. The Democrats are the party of the rich and the poor. Republicans are the party of everybody in between.
All right, Dr. von Biedenfeld, your thoughts about the election?
Of course, we were calling it on the show the entire time, and we were sort of forecasting or telegraphing some of the moves that Vice President Harris needed to change, or messaging moves that she needed to make to prevent a re-implosion of the campaign that she saw in her initial presidential bid. This was not a strong campaign. I think many Americans overall believe that it's embarrassing for over 300 million people and at least 20 million qualified presidential candidates potentially. And these are the two candidates we have. We have somebody who's already been president and someone who couldn't run a successful campaign in the first place, sort of presumptive nominee, not through an open sort of candidate selection process at the convention. Just somebody nominated, appointed, anointed for this role. But again, very expected results. I think one of the challenges that some of those voters in the middle that were looking for the decisiveness, they're going to be surprised at some of these upcoming cabinet picks and some of these policy decisions that are maybe more in line with what was spoken.
All right. Still ahead tonight here on The Factor Uncensored. Don't go anywhere. Immigration continues to be a hot topic issue. On day one, Trump has promised to send undocumented immigrants back to their home countries. Plus, will he follow through with closing the Department of Education and send the power back to the states? And he vows to make the economy stronger than it currently is. We'll tell you how and what our panel thinks on all of these topics on the special edition of The Factor Uncensored. Don't go anywhere. And welcome back to The Factor Uncensored. Tonight, we're looking at control of Congress. The Republicans have won power of the Senate, with 53 Republican senators taking power and 47 Democrats. The GOP flipped 4 seats to gain control. In the House, several results have not been called officially yet. The Associated Press currently says Republicans have won 217 seats, Democrats 207. Other outlets have said the GOP already hit the benchmark to have control of Congress. If that's the case, the Republican Party will have control of both chambers of Congress, obviously the White House. Up next, we're looking at immigration and what may happen the first day President-elect Trump is back in the White House. One of the hot topics that continues to polarize Americans is immigration and undocumented immigrants. Here's what Trump is saying he'll do as soon as he's back in office.
As part of my plan to secure the border on day one of my new term in office, I will sign an executive order making clear to federal agencies that under the correct interpretation of the law, going forward, the future children of illegal aliens will not receive automatic U.S. citizenship. It's things like this that bring millions of people to our country, and they enter our country illegally. My policy will choke off a major incentive for continued illegal immigration, deter more migrants from coming, and encourage many of the aliens Joe Biden has unlawfully let into our country to go back to their home countries. They must go back. Nobody could afford this. Nobody could do this. And even morally, it's so wrong.
Wow, this is something that will have major impacts in Texas and across the country. So, Charles, is he headed in the right direction? And can he do it, do you think?
Well, I mean, I watch the conservatives here like gleefully put thumbs up like little dumb robots. I mean, these are suffering people,
that really
right?
tells you what they think.
I mean, I'm sorry. Try hard.
Yes, Charles, you're so much smarter than
They
us.
want to put
time,
me on a
guys, one
panel
at a
with
time.
stupid people doing stupid things, and I'll talk about it. But immigration is a serious
Pleasant as
problem.
always.
We can't have an open border, right? We have to have a controlled but fluid border. We want the hardworking people that I know it's a hard concept for the dumb. We want
just open the border up. That's the smart thing
if
to
you
do.
want to keep interrupting because we could say something that made sense, but we need a controlled border, and then we need people to be allowed to lawfully immigrate to this country because that's what this country was built on. Sure. And people that want to come to America and grasp at the brass ring of Americanism and want to celebrate this country, then we want and need them here. We need the consumers, we need the workers. What we don't need is narco-terrorists making hundreds of millions of dollars, trafficking children, raping kids, and doing all sorts of horrible things, while Democrats act like it's not a problem. We need to deport people that come to this country and commit crimes, because
Charles,
they should.
let's bring in
But
Mr.
we can't be joyful about poor people suffering unless we're just
Oh, I know.
stupid.
We're not allowed to have emotions unless you approve them.
No, it's not about it's about being dumb.
You're the epitome of dumb and arrogant
sure,
as a dangerous
I am.
combination. Continue, Tom. I want to hear what you have to
Enough
say.
of your big dinner. I got to tell you, man. I'm looking at the at this as an opportunity, because we're about to get rid of about 5 million completely useless government employees, and we're going to get probably somewhere between 5 and 10 million illegal aliens, most of them who are on the dole. All you got to do is send the illegal aliens home and take all these knuckleheads that are doing nothing in our bureaucracies and make them do all the dirty work, like cleaning the toilets.
All right,
Well,
one second, Dr. Victoria.
The reason why this whole concept is terrifying and scary, as someone who is a former prosecutor, who is a defense attorney, and a former judge, what does that look like? How do you effectuate, how do you execute this plan? The only way that that's going to be done, what it's going to involve is profiling. It's going to be racial profiling in order to determine who is legal and who's not. How do you decide that? And what happens is people will start getting pulled over. So I hope that everyone that looks black or brown has your papers.
That's absurd. That's absurd.
When people get arrested,
Let's hear from
when
Angela
people
really
get
quick.
arrested and
No,
they're not
Charles
citizens,
needs to
we
talk
can
more,
deport
Isaiah.
them.
Okay, go ahead, Angela.
You interrupted me 6 times, child.
Keep crying.
Sometimes.
Keep crying. Anyway,
I'm not crying.
here's the point. The Democrats have used this 14th Amendment loophole, which was originally granted to descendants of slaves, to say that every single person that was born on American soil should be American citizens. This is a fallacy. If you're a French diplomat and your wife gives birth here, that baby is not an American citizen. This is stupid. It should never have been done. Day one, Tom Homan has already said, Tom Homan does not give a flying F what anybody says about, oh, there's going to be profiling. You know how you show if you're here legally or not? Your ID, your immigration status, your immigration papers. It's not Nazi Germany to show that you're here legally. So Tom Homan has said, because the Biden administration, the Obama administration has basically demoralized our ICE agents, our Border Patrol, he's like, oh, there are thousands of people contacting me, wanting to be like, where do I sign up to start deporting?
Jolanda, let's hear from you. Will this work?
So, the logistics of it is difficult, but let me say this. A really big issue even before this election was, should we have to carry papers? Like, what shows that you're here with documents, right? What is that? Is a driver's license a document? People fake those, right? So, I want to say to, like, the 70% of Latinos that voted for Trump,
Pretty smart.
be careful what you wish for. You might just get it. And let me tell you what else we know. So there will be no anchor babies. Trump has already said he's going to get rid of anchor babies. Trump has said we are not going to, we don't have to separate families. We'll just take all of y'all. So, he did. Right?
Take your kids with you.
I love that idea.
Take them with you.
Why are you here?
So here you go.
Go home.
So exactly. And let me be clear. If a French person comes here undocumented and they have a baby, at least prior to Trump being president, then you are a U.S. citizen. So I find it curious that Angela brought up a white European.
Get
She
in
talked
line.
about
I said a
who's an
diplomat
undocumented.
situation, Jolanda. Try and keep that.
Dietrich, let's hear from you. Wrap us
This
up.
is very entertaining. The reality is most countries do not have the very generous package that we have because of the pragmatic realities of healthcare and other subsidizations. So Germany was mentioned. My father's a German immigrant, and he chose this country, and I'm proud of that, and I'm proud of our immigrant history. Diversity makes us strong. E pluribus unum. But out of these ideas, we do recognize that just like citizenship isn't just blanketly granted to people in other countries, why do we do this? And the problem with the porous border, I do think that it's been brought up. It's not just people from Central America, South America. It's also Iranians. It's Chinese. What are these weather balloons flying over here? So I think it's legally possible. I think with the Supreme Court stacked in its favor, any district court or appellate court restrictions on the presidential or executive power to immediately deport are going to be waived pretty quickly. I think this could be a boon for private airlines as we work out those things.
All right, Dr. Von Bienfeld. Thank you, sir. Still ahead tonight here on The Factor, social issues in America. The Republican Party has had a hardline stance on issues impacting the transgender community. Our panel will get into that next. Welcome back to The Factor Uncensored. Body autonomy continues to be a major talker between women's rights and LGBTQ rights. A lot of people are worried about what may potentially happen. President-elect Trump has had very hardline views on the topics. Take a look.
Gender insanity being pushed on our children is an act of child abuse. Very simple. Here's my plan to stop the chemical, physical, and emotional mutilation of our youth. On day one, I will revoke Joe Biden's cruel policies on so-called gender-affirming care. Ridiculous. A process that includes giving kids puberty blockers, mutating their physical appearance, and ultimately performing surgery on minor children. Can you believe this? I will sign a new executive order instructing every federal agency to cease all programs that promote the concept of sex and gender transition at any age. I will then ask Congress to permanently stop federal taxpayer dollars from being used to promote or pay for these procedures and pass a law prohibiting child sexual mutilation in all 50 states. It'll go very quickly.
All right, Charles, let's have you kick this conversation off. Your thoughts on that? Will he get anywhere with that?
The problem that we have with the LGBTQIA debate is that, I mean, we're only 7 years removed from Teddy Boy Cruz marching in Kentucky to deny people the right to get married, which was imbecilic, right? We're 70 years removed from the United Kingdom prosecuting the smartest man on the planet who created computers and probably won World War II for the West for being gay, and he committed suicide, right? So we're not so far removed from incredible oppression, but the pendulum has swung far too the left, where if you say, hey, I don't want someone with a penis playing sports, contact sports, with my 12-year-old daughter, all of a sudden you're a transphobe, right? In the Olympics, we watched a boxing participant who had a micro penis and undescended testicles beat a bunch of girls half to death and be given a gold medal because of nonsense politically correctness. Where instead, if we could just say, hey, let's be reasonable. Let's shut up all the bigots that don't think gay people have a right to be gay and to live fully realized lives, right? Hey, if you've got the bottom surgery and you want to go into a, who cares? Let's not tell adults how to live their life. But on the flip side, well, there's a reason we have women's sports that are for people that were born with a vagina. There's a reason why trans men play in the women's league still. So hopefully his policies will have us return to normal.
Let's wake Tommy
I guess
up.
I bored the dumb. It's hard to keep up, right?
All right, Tommy, your thoughts about this?
Let me remind everyone, Hillary Clinton was against gay marriage. Let me remind everyone else that Barack Obama was against gay marriage, which is very ironic, just saying.
Yeah.
Just saying. On one hand, look, Charles, I'll side with you on a couple of things here. The first thing is, if you're a conservative, you have to believe that people have an individual right to make individual opinions about how they live. So if you're conservative, you're actually compelled to be on the side of people who are in the gay community who just want to live their lives normally. However, no matter what you believe, you can't accept the fact that Democrats as a party and as a people have sided with trannies to actually come in and mutilate children because they want their
George,
kids
let's hear from you on this topic. Your thoughts?
So first of all, I believe that parents and children and doctors should make decisions for their health care. But if what Trump says is true, then a little teenagers who want to get boob jobs, that's sexual mutilation. So why can we have a kid get a boob job and the parents think it's okay, but a person who says that they were born in the wrong body can't?
Well,
that's one thing.
a straw man,
The second thing I want to say, because I didn't interrupt you, even though I didn't agree with everything that you said, because I have decency and respect, and I was raised right. But the second thing I want to say is, why are we so? I mean, Elon Musk. Look at him before he had surgery on his face. He wants to appear more masculine. Charles, he probably want to look like you, right?
I mean, I am pretty.
Ain't nobody saying nothing.
All right.
Ain't nobody saying nothing
Dr.
to that
Victoria,
billionaire
let's hear
who's
from you.
mutilating his body.
Dr. Victoria, let's hear.
I agree with what Jolanda is saying.
That I'm pretty? Thank you.
I said you were pretty. I said Elon Musk was like he's height disadvantaged.
I don't understand why Republicans are so obsessed with controlling other people's bodies. It is if a parent wants to make a decision for their child. Also, even the whole talk of child of mutilation and where is this happening? What are the examples? I'm trying to figure out where these stories are coming from. Is there an example that you?
There are a lot of detransition stories.
Where a surgery has taken place. This wasn't necessarily the leading Democratic issue. The Republicans made it that issue when they started blasting these commercials out and putting these things out into the media to make it seem as if that was the primary issue of the Democratic Party. It wasn't.
The Democrat candidate for President of the United States, which I still think we were being punked, said that we should give transgender surgeries to illegal alien prisoners. Now, the reason this is an issue is because Democrats have gone so far to the left and has made it an issue. Republicans are responding to the insanity. But I do think it's funny how suddenly and how irrevocably it's just
We'll
all
let you finish
over.
your thoughts in a minute. We'll be back with our guests. Stay with us here on The Factor Uncensored. And welcome back to The Factor Uncensored, a very special edition. Angela, we want you to finish your thoughts.
Yeah, I just, when you look on college campuses, these kids are getting these useless degrees, that, gender studies and African American studies and whatever else, that they're not going to have any kind of life skills, and they're going to go out into the world and they suddenly realize that everything they've been taught has been suddenly and irrevocably, it's just over. It's just over. We are done. It's like we've had this collective fever for about 8 or 9 years, and when you feel sick, you feel sick for a long time, and you don't feel you're going to feel better, and then one day your fever breaks, and it's just over. And these people, these little Yale graduates, I will say Starbucks is always going to have a permanent working class of Yale graduate baristas, so congratulations, girls.
Dr. Von Biedenfeld, your thoughts on this?
Yeah, the reality is I think we conflate too many issues, and then that's what makes President-elect Trump very appealing, because he simplifies it, right? We've seen Idiocracy, and we know President Camacho gets the job done. Shoot in the air, make it flashy, and people like that. The reality is it's a very complex issue. It can be simplified into the conservative point, which is live your life the way you want to, as long as the government doesn't have to pay for it. So as many of the ways that President-elect Trump phrases things are controversial, but if you back out of the emotional or visceral response to it, or the need to respond, right, thinking first to understand.
When did that become the conservative ideal? Have you forgotten
I love how you're interrupting Diedrich. I'd like
y'all
to hear
both
what Diedrich
interrupted
has
me.
to
Stop.
say.
No one's talking to you because it's pointless.
crying.
But when
Go
did
ahead,
it
Diedrich.
become? Because it wasn't. You'll agree for decades,
Right,
So
and
when
I don't
did it
mean
happen?
conservative in terms of Republican. I'm not oversimplifying this into a partisan issue.
talking
Beware
about
of
baby
entangling
murder.
alliances, George Washington warned us, right? The idea is this idea of personal autonomy. And so I agree with the idea that we need to be defending individuals' rights to choose their partners, to choose where they are. The challenge becomes in asking the federal government to pay for it, whether that be in terms of gender reassignment in prisons, gender reassignment surgeries for military individuals.
You're avoiding the question. The question is, when did republicanism,
One at a time, guys.
conservatism become libertarianism?
Let Charles finish his question. Go ahead, Charles.
But that's not the question. So what you're talking about is individual liberty and individual autonomy, and Republicans have rejected that and preferred theocracy for decades, right?
And
then
I appreciate the rephrasing.
So we have Ted Cruz.
You're acknowledging you're rephrasing the question to Republicanism,
No, I'm
not
not. I'm
conservatism.
asking you, wait, okay.
You're not acknowledging.
So are you talking, when you say conservatism, you just mean this amorphous maybe Republicans? Because usually it's usually interchangeable, right? So my question is, when did the conservative constituency of America, the electorate, decide that they were okay with gay people living their lives as they see fit?
Right.
That's
Let's
what
answer that.
Evangelical.
Offensive.
No, evangelical, if we're talking about evangelical and the Christian conservative or Islamic conservative or perhaps Orthodox Jewish, but that again is a conflation.
I'm talking about Ted
and
Cruz.
I love having a stenographer in the courtroom so I could have the judge read it back to you and you could see that you asked two questions. Ted Cruz is completely not
one guy.
May I
Why is
say
a
something
senator
here?
here?
But
I love
it's not
Well, yeah,
just
but you're
to the
not
federal
being
government pay for it.
honest,
They
right?
usually
When you
understand
talk
that.
about
Come
Republicans
on,
building
Charles,
a big
let's
tent,
hear
you're
from
not
Jelani.
being
Go ahead.
They
honest.
Republicanism
are
and conservatism are
literally
not the same. That's the
criminalizing
simplification.
it. So
That's
this
the problem.
isn't just like, is the federal government going to pay for it? Is
It's
tax
not about
dollars going to pay for it?
Right.
It's like doctors, we will lock you up forever. We will take your medical license.
If you mutilate children,
and we
Exactly,
will
Angela.
take, if a mother's trying to support her child, we're going to arrest you, we're going to criminalize you.
Because
so
that
it's
child-
more
Where
than
does that
just
come
that.
from?
Because that child-
Since when do Republicans get to decide, like, I'm the moral police, and then I'm going to criminalize what I think you're immoral.
the
about.
only thing-
let's hear from Angela.
Hold on a second, hold on.
Everything in law.
Hold
That's
on.
some BS.
Go ahead, Angela.
The only thing Democrats think that kids should be able to do with their bodies when they're underage is have a late-term abortion or mutilate their genitals. And that's the point, is that when you are under 25 years old, your brain is not developed fully. And I love how Charles, who thinks that Larry Tribe is some kind of a conservative, and he thinks he knows everything because he's went to Harvard and you didn't. I love how he's like, doesn't understand that the first part of the Constitution, the Declaration of Independence, talks about life, liberty, and the pursuit of
I have a
happiness.
question for
And the number
Angela.
one thing is
I
life.
have a
We'll be
question
right
for
back
Angela.
after this. Stay with us here on this special edition of The Factor Uncensored.
You're watching the Isaiah Factor Uncensored.
And welcome back to The Factor Uncensored. Reports say 2 out of 3 Americans feel the economy isn't as strong as it should be, although year to year, the U.S. Department of Commerce shows the economy is doing much better than it did a year ago after the pandemic wreaked havoc on the economy and brought inflation up globally.
When I'm back in the White House, I will immediately unleash energy production, slash regulations like I did just 3 years ago, and repeal Biden's tax hikes to get inflation down as fast as possible, and it will go quickly, so that interest rates can get back under control. I built the greatest economy in the history of the world. In fact, I did it twice when you think about it, and now we will have to do it again.
He's right.
And of course, a chicken in every pot and a Cadillac in every yard. Will it work, Tommy? Will he change it all?
Yeah, but he's facing something really bad. The Democrats have been lying about the economy for 4 years. They keep on revising everything down and revising everything down. Why? Because they're lying. We're about to hit a recession. It's happening right now. People aren't even aware of it. It's on its way. It's happening right now. Trump will fix it by doing a couple things. First thing he's going to do is he's going to make energy much easier to produce. That was the reason the economy first went into inflationary situation last time around with Biden. So that's the first thing he's going to do. The second thing he's going to do is cut federal spending, which has to be done. It has to be done. I understand the constraints of the budget. It has to be done.
All right. Dr. Victoria, your thoughts? Will he change everything, change the game when it comes to the economy? And is the economy bad now?
I don't, I can't speak to people's pockets personally. I don't know what people have in their pockets, but I do know that he inherited a great economy from Obama. He did. He inherited a good economy from Obama. So I'm not quite sure what we expect our former one-term president to do about this particular issue. I think it's a frequent thing that we see. Lots of promises without any plan or execution. He has concepts of a plan.
All right. Charles, first of all, is the current economy we have, in your opinion, bad? And will President Trump make it better?
Our economy under the Biden administration has been horrible for working wage-earning Americans who have struggled under the boot of inflation and high interest rates, and we've heard nothing but empty lectures from the left and the complicit media. On the flip side, Trump's first 3 years in office before COVID, which was released from a lab, but before COVID, it was the best economy we'd seen in decades, right? Exactly. Especially for employment for people of color and employment for low-wage Americans being able to ascend. COVID killed it. I do think that Trump is going to have an immediate, fantastic impact on the economy because Wall Street is energized by his election. I do think the rich will continue to get richer, but I think the middle class are going to feel it. And they're also going to avoid a huge tax hike that was going to come with President Harris on wage earners.
Right.
And so hopefully the economy will be better.
Angela, let's hear from you.
Well, my fiance is in the financial world, and there's very much a feeling of bullishness. Like it's a lot, the market is very psychologically driven. It's people driven. It's feelings driven. It's like how people are feeling, and people are feeling very, very, very bullish on a Trump presidency. And I think when we have energy independence again, and that's going to happen quickly, when we stop printing money, when we have Elon and Vivek Ramaswamy going in and just slashing the hell out of the federal budget. I mean, if Elon slashed Twitter's staff by 80%, just imagine what he can do with these bloated bureaucracies that have no business and have just destroyed this country.
Jolanda, your thoughts?
So here's what's funny. Pete how he's already setting the stage for if Trump doesn't fix the economy. You know, I just want you to know the Democrats have been lying for 4 years, and there's about to be a recession. So he's CYAing. We know what that means. The next thing I'll say is this. Y'all act like y'all know what it's like to live in the hood. I know you about to say you from the Philadelphia ghetto, okay? And you got white male privilege, but you don't know what it's like being in the ghetto, right? You don't. You don't know what it's like for people to have a bunch of stores with no access to fresh fruits and vegetables. You have no idea what it's like to have very unhealthy food that sells for a lot. So there will be people who will do very well, right? Let me be clear. I think Wall Street's going to do well.
Let's bring
I think
in
the
Mr.
energy
Rich
company
Ghetto
is,
right
but
there.
poor people are not.
Tommy, let's hear from you.
The self-avowed ghetto race.
Let me point something out here. The one thing Democrats keep saying is the stock market's up 12,000 since Biden was in office. And what I keep telling them and trying to remind them is real inflation is about 30%, which means the real stock market is down. Its real value is about 29,000. The real value went down, not up. And that's true with the entire economy. Everything you own is worth
All right,
30%
20 seconds,
less.
Dr. Von Biedenfeld. 20.
The reality is Department of Commerce works for the federal government. President Joe Biden's their boss. And the reality is you can pick and choose out of the market basket. I agree with the good doctor. It depends on the individual. I think businesses, entrepreneurs, and many people of color are going to do better under Trump in the near term.
All right, we'll be right back with our guests. Don't go anywhere. And welcome back to The Factor Uncensored. During the election cycle, President-elect Trump said he would eliminate the Department of Education to allow parents more autonomy with their child's education. But he also said some controversial things on that topic.
Here is my plan to save American education, restore power to American parents. First, we will cut federal funding for any school or program pushing critical race theory, gender ideology, or other inappropriate racial, sexual, or political content onto our children. We're not going to allow it to happen. Next, I will direct the Department of Justice and Education to open civil rights investigations into any school district that has engaged in race-based discrimination.
All right, Jolanda Jones, you're a former school board member. Your thoughts about that?
So it makes me sad. And when I'm reading textbooks, they talk about race, George Washington, and they don't talk about how we came over here and stole the land from the Native Americans. We don't talk about that. The books are all whitewashed. So under Trump, we can talk about whitewashed history, and that's okay, but we can't talk about what happened to the Native Americans. We can't talk about what happened to black people. We were taken from our country and brought here, and we built this country. So we can't talk about the work we did with the Chinese. We can't talk about any of that stuff. So I think it is white-centric. I believe it to be racist, and it's anti-anybody who's not rich white male. And when he's talking about going back to stuff that was in the 1700s, you realize back then when the Constitution was created, the only people who had the right to vote were white men and property-owning white men. So he's trying to take us back to a time where the only people who had rights were the Elon Musks of the world.
All right. Dr. Von Biedenfeld, you're currently in academia. You're in the education world. Your thoughts about this and President-elect Trump's
This reinforces
plan.
my earlier point that he's not getting rid of the Department of Education. I don't think Congress will let him. But this also reinforces how he did this under Betsy DeVos. While many people chastise the move, for example, for people who are accused of sexual assault to confront their accusers, every other citizen enjoys that right. Only in the educational world were those accused denied that due process. And so some of the things that he's talking about are, again, reducing, and again, I didn't say republicanism, right? It's not energy republicanism, it's conservation. So in that conservative element of reducing federal funds for those things that states or local governments might more appropriately, school boards might appropriately investigate, manifest, and otherwise control.
All right, Dr. McTorry, your thoughts?
As a mother of 4 children, all in school right now, I'm disappointed to hear that as well. Because my mother used to say this all the time: speak your truth, and how someone responds to it is not your problem. What I'm concerned about is what are people so afraid of when it comes to students learning our entire history, our history in its entirety. Slavery is a dark part of American history, but it is a part of American history. So when it gets coined and termed critical race theory, what are Republicans referring to, and what are we afraid of why are we so afraid to delve into that history?
All right, Charles, let's hear from you on this topic.
I think that both sides have done a great job identifying the issue, right? You have Dr. McTory, or Judge McTory, and Congresswoman Jones, or is it Senator? I'm sorry.
State representative.
State representative. All right.
And lawyer.
I meant state Congress. I know you're a lawyer, Joanna. But they're talking about racism and teaching about the horrible racial history of America. What they're not talking about is the fact that we are failing so many poor black kids, poor kids of color. Their graduation rates are horrible. Their attendance rates are horrible.
What does that have to do
Their
with
performance.
critical race?
I'm talking about the education department and why we need to make big changes. We need to go back to not pushing kids through, but to teaching kids. And we also need to return discipline and removing the bad kids to protect poor kids of color who are rule-following, law-abiding, and go to schools and are miserable and are bullied. On the flip side, the professor likes to parse. He says, oh, I'm talking about conservatives, not Republicans. This is all empty parsing nonsense. When you talk about Betsy DeVos, she did. You can laugh, but you're being dishonest, and it's kind of, so you're talking to the simple.
They're complex words, I know. I'll see it in
I get it.
Oh, I won't.
At the end of the day, when you talk about Betsy DeVos did in Title IX do a great job of allowing a due process right, but on the flip side, she also stewarded a bunch of money to cronies, to herself, and underfunded. And Republicans generally, what they do is they underfund school districts for poor kids and overfund them for the wealthy, and that's why the Department of Education was started.
As
we need
a former
better schools
educator,
for
you are in
everybody.
the trenches. Your thoughts on what President-elect
nobody's
Trump
saying
has?
that we should not teach African American history or Native American
Well,
history.
you called African American Studies a useless degree. You just said that.
It's a useless degree in the real
They're empty
world.
words by an
In the
empty
real
person.
world,
What are you gonna do with
if
it?
you're gonna, what are you gonna do with it except go into academia and become further left? Anyway, my point is this. Critical race theory, here's why it's so insidious. Because what critical race theory does is it tells black and brown kids, you're black and you're brown and you're never going to get ahead because of mean white people. And oh, you know what? Being on time and walking in a straight line and raising your hand to speak, why those are vestiges of slavery and white supremacy. So you're not allowed to do it. Let me tell you something. If we want to get back to normal, and you know what?
You don't find that to be a simplification?
When you have children,
I know that's Latin.
Anyway,
Y'all have to do it after the show, not here.
Oh, I don't find him that
outside at
interesting.
3 o'clock.
He's a little guy.
when
Come
you
on.
Go ahead,
have
Angela.
He's not a meat at the bite.
I mean, let's let the smartest man in the world talk. When
you
black
interrupted
and
me
I already
at least
spoke.
a
Thank you,
dozen
Angela.
touche,
Thank
Deidre.
you.
When black and brown children are denied an education because of horrific behavior, because of administrators who, again, use critical race theory to excuse horrible behavior, to say you're not able to do the work, you're not able to perform the way that, quote, white kids do, it's racist. And
All
that's
right,
what
Tommy,
we don't
Tommy,
say
let's hear that.
That's not true.
Let's hear from
First
you.
of all, CRT and DEI are racist. Racist. They tell black kids and brown kids, you can't possibly succeed because you're oppressed. They tell white kids, you're bad because you're an oppressor. That's exactly what it says.
exactly what
And
it
by the way, if you want to know where you've seen CRT before, Nazi Germany in the 1930s. It's been around since the mid-1800s as a theory. That's what they did.
All right, Jolanda, go ahead.
Robin DiAngelo got rich out
Let me
there.
make it clear. No. When you see everything on TV caricaturing black people, we criminals, we can only do well in sports and entertainment, right? To be taught that we created peanut butter, or we created this, or we created that.
I taught
right?
that.
That actually is not
taught
teaching
that.
me that I can't do stuff. In fact, it's showing me that I can be as smart as anybody
Absolutely.
if I put my mind to it.
Absolutely.
And I actually agree with Charles on something.
Well, because
as a
I'm right
school
about
board
everything.
member, here's what they did. They underfunded the schools in black and brown communities, and they directed all the money to Lamar, Westside, HSPBA, DeBakey, all those schools. So they had 1 million extracurricular activities and certified teachers. And then in the inner city schools, they didn't have any of that.
Does anybody
it's
know
not
the
fair.
highest
And that's
funded
why
school
we
system in
need
America?
the Department of Education, because they can make sure
Does anybody
that,
know the
that we
highest
actually
funded
protect
school
the
system
civil
in
rights
America?
of
All right,
kids.
anybody?
Yeah.
Baltimore, Maryland, where about
Is that
4% of
it?
the kids graduate.
Matt?
Ding.
All right, we'll be right back. All right, we want to thank all of our guests. Charles, let's wrap it up with 20 seconds, your summation.
Yeah, my hope is that the populist fervor that led to Trump's election will push both the left and the right, the parties themselves, back to the center so they'll get reasonable, right? And that we'll have actual solutions and common sense defining the day, instead of allowing people that use pejoratives and laugh, or people that act like conservatives weren't, oppressive, or liberals that act like their policies weren't ridiculous.
I also hope that this is something that brings America together. I hope that Democrats, I would like to be proven wrong about what I believe will happen as a result of this presidency. I hope that this can bring people together, and I hope that America will continue to look at, to see our past, be accountable for it, and move forward in a good direction.
All right, Angela?
Amen to that. I think that if TikTok and Twitter and all the reaction by the left are any indicator, the meltdown will be sustained, which makes me laugh very hard. But I also agree. I hope that the success that the Trump administration will bring will open a lot of eyes, will drop some scales from people's eyes on what they think Republicans are, and it's going to be for everybody.
Jolanda?
What I think is people deserve who they vote for. You voted for a clown, you're about to get him. You want a reality show, you have that. And I hope and I wish and I pray that we survive these next 4 years.
Tommy?
The difference between the modern Democrat Party and Nazis is, at this point, is indistinguishable. It's going to be hell to get them to come to the center. It's not going to happen. It's going to be 4 years of a big fight. We're going to win on the right because we're going to prove we're right.
All right, Dr. Von Biedenfeld, 20 seconds.
I again disagree with my unesteemed colleague and say I don't want us to go to the middle. I want us to decide on what's right and what's wrong. But I do believe that we all have to come together behind the President of the United States. The office has lost dignity over the years. We need to reestablish that. We're all part of the United States. This is our President-elect. We need to hope he succeeds because his success is our success.
All right, we want to thank you all for joining us here on The Factor Uncensored. And follow us on social media, and you can catch us on Instagram and, of course, Fox Soul. Good night, all.